From the amazing Antawn Jamison to the super talented Chris Webber, here are all the retired NBA players that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't have to tell you what a huge honor this is, but everyone doesn't get to be counted in the elites, even though they deserve to be. Let's start with the formidable Peja Stojakovic. The Sacramento Kings became well known in the early 2000s because this legend became a second star for the team. He was a big reason why the three-point shot became more important in basketball. As a starting small forward in his prime, he was chosen for the All-Star team 3 times. Amazing, right? He even got the 4th most MVP votes in 2004. He should have been inducted into the Hall of Fame because he has done a lot of great things in the game. The same goes for this next player, Antawn Jamison. This player's consistently high level of play suggests that he was one of the most underrated players of the 2000s. He had great stats for the whole decade, and for a few years, he was a big reason why the Washington Wizards came back to life. He finally got to play for a serious title contender when he was moved to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Unfortunately for him, LeBron James left the team to play for the Heat after only 1 season with them. While he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame based solely on his amazing stats, but he was a victim of internal politics and LeBron's decision to leave the team. This next player was an obvious Hall of Famer too. I'm talking about Shawn Marion. Even though he was short, he was a great power forward, both in defense and offense. He was a starter for the 2011 NBA champion Dallas Mavericks and made it to the All-Star game 4 times. 4 times! It seems strange that he isn't in the Hall of Fame. His professional career began back in 1999 when the Phoenix Suns picked him. In the early 2000s, he was at his best. He worked well with Suns point guard Steve Nash and with the team as a whole. Even though he was good at offense, he was better known for his defense. He should have made the Hall of Fame just on how he could shoot from anywhere on the court. His career averages of 15.2 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 1.9 assists per game were good enough for him to be inducted, but he wasn't, which disappointed fans. The same can be said about these next 2 players as well, Rasheed Wallace and Mark Price. Wallace was the most valuable player in the 2004 NBA Finals. He was part of a powerful front-court duo for the Detroit Pistons. He made an undefeated team when he worked with Ben Wallace. Yep, his brother. He did a great job defending the rim and stopping one-on-one attacks. He played in the NBA All-Star Game for 4 years. During his career, he scored 14.4 points per game on average. On the other hand, Mark Price was the best player on the team before the Cleveland Cavaliers chose LeBron James in the draft. His career in the NBA wasn't as well known as it could have been, even though he was a part of the All-Star team 4 times and the All-NBA team twice. He also joined Larry Bird as the only other player to have a 50-40-90 shooting percentage, which is super amazing. He should have been inducted into the Hall of Fame because he got so much attention during such a tough time for the league. There's another retired player who should have been honored by the NBA, Kevin Johnson. Fans of the Phoenix Suns haven't forgotten that he wasn't inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. No one deserved it more. During the 1990s, he and Charles Barkley both played for the Suns. The team was good enough to compete for a spot in the Western Conference playoffs. Johnson is one of the best point guards ever. He was an All-Star 3 times and an All-NBA player 5 times. His career NBA stats of 18 points and 9 assists per game are better than many Hall of Famers. The same problem could be seen with Shawn Kemp. He was a top-tier power forward in the league by the end of his 6th season there. He made the All-Star team for 6 years in a row, and he made the All-NBA first team 3 times. Along with Gary Payton, he led the Seattle Supersonics to 62 wins in 1996. If Michael Jordan hadn't returned to the league, their team might have won the title. His career went downhill pretty quickly after that, but it was still good enough for him to get into the Hall of Fame. By the end of his career, he averaged 14.6 points, 8.4 rebounds, and 1.6 assists per game. It's pretty unfair, right? Just wait till you hear who else was snubbed. Amar'e Stoudemire. While the other players on this list weren't given good enough reasons not to be inducted, this player was. The 2020 class was strong and had so many amazing players that he was just overlooked. He should have gotten the award though. During the Suns' run of dominating the regular season, Steve Nash and Amar'e were the public faces of the team. He scored more points than any other Suns player on each of their great scoring teams, and should be in the Hall of Fame because he has been in the All-Star game 6 times and made the All-NBA team 5 times. Doesn't this make your blood boil? If it does, you should hold on to your hats, because these last 3 players being overlooked was tragic. A real injustice. The amazing Tim Hardaway. He was pretty amazing with both the Golden State Warriors and the Miami Heat. He was one of the best point guards of the 1990s. He also played well on both ends of the court. He was in the All-Star games and All-NBA first teams 5 times each. This just shows how great he was as a point guard and as a player in general. With Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning at the helm, Miami often challenged the Chicago Bulls and New York Knicks for the Eastern Conference title, but they never won it. He's the most famous crossover player and the only member of the legendary Run TMC team from the Golden State Warriors who isn't in the Hall of Fame. He played in the NBA for 15 years, and in each game, he averaged 17.7 points, 8.2 assists, and 1.6 steals. In honor of him, the Miami Heat have taken away his jersey number, but he still isn't in the Hall of Fame. Isn't that crazy? Now, the final players who deserved the honor: Chauncey Billups and Chris Webber. Billups won the NBA Finals MVP award, but he isn't in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He's one of the best point guards and a consistent scorer in the league. He led the Detroit Pistons to the 2004 NBA championship after Shaq was traded from the Los Angeles Lakers. Because of his leadership skills, his teams became playoff contenders for many seasons. If he doesn't get into the Hall of Fame at some point, it'll be such a shame. The same can be said about Chris Webber. This is the worst snub of all time. He was one of the top candidates for best power forward in the NBA when Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, and Kevin Garnett were all at the top of their games. With him, the Sacramento Kings were a real contender for the title in 2002. They lost a controversial game that kept them from making it to the NBA Finals, but he was so good for so long that he was named to the All-Star team and the first team of the All-NBA 5 times each. He was super passionate and deserved this honor more than anyone. That's all I have on retired NBA players who deserve to be Hall of Famers.